Hey, welcome to Dan's Model Works. And it is Father's Day 2017. No, that's a lie. It's not. It's really April 29th. But by the time this goes up on YouTube, it should be Father's Day. An explanation. Yeah, it would be nice if you'd explain things occasionally, Dan. Basically, I want to put together this kit for my dad, give it to him on Father's Day. And the reason that I want to give him a tracker is this is one of the types of aircraft that was based on Canada's second aircraft carrier, the HMCS Bonaventure. And my dad served aboard the Bonaventure twice, once in the early 1960s, and the second time in 1968, 1969. And he worked in the weather office on board the Bonaventure, and one of the tasks that he had was basically to stand at the very front of the ship, on the bow of the ship, with a wind anemometer. That's the little spinny thing. It tells you how fast the wind is blowing, so that he could say, all right, we've got enough wind to launch the trackers. Now, by the time he was on board the Bonaventure, we weren't flying the Banshees off anymore. It was just basically uh, the trackers and I believe the S-55 helicopters. So this won't be the first model that I've given my dad for Father's Day. Previously, and we're looking at 6 years ago, I gave him a model of one of those S-55s. It was the Italy kit, and it came with the Canadian Navy decals on it. And I'll flash up a couple pictures of that plane right now, or that helicopter right now. Now, some of you might be saying, well, Dan, why are you using that horrible hobbycraft kit? Why don't you use I believe, the Hasegawa kit? Well, this is actually my dad's model kit. It came from his attic, and he never got around to building it. And so the idea is, as I will build this model, I know it has some shortcomings. The plan is I want to get this model done in the next month and a half. I think we've got about a month and a half before Father's Day. And I'll make some videos as I do it. And hopefully, if everything all comes together, I'll be giving my dad the model on Father's Day, and shortly thereafter, I will post all of the videos up on Father's Day. So if everything goes according to plan, there will be 3 videos. When I recorded that, my dad had just been released from the hospital. We'd been given the news that the prostate cancer that he'd been fighting for the last 7 years had spread throughout his abdomen. All of the treatments, drugs, hormones, radiation, and finally chemo had done nothing more than each in their turn to slow the disease for a while. The doctor said that he probably had about a year left. By the last week of May, it was obvious that he would be lucky to have months left, let alone weeks. My sister came up from Kingston on the first weekend of June to see him. By Monday the 5th, he could barely sleep and could not hold food down. I drove him to Parkwood Hospital for palliative care on Wednesday the 7th, and he died this past Monday, June 12th, 2017. Before he died, he got to see all of his grandkids. I felt it was more important to spend my spare time visiting him in the hospital this last week than trying to complete the model, but he did know that I had it planned for him. He was 72 years old, but he was able to retire fully from the Canadian Armed Forces at the age of 49, and thus was able to spend the last 20 years of his life making stuff in his workshop and puttering around the house. Please allow me to share a few images of his life. In this photo, my dad is 17 years old and has just joined the Royal Canadian Navy in 1962. This is my mom and dad on their wedding day in 1965. My dad in uniform, and as you can see by the sash on his hat, he is a member of the crew of the HMCS Bonaventure at this time. In 1968, the Royal Canadian Navy, Army, and Air Force unified to form the Canadian Armed Forces. 7 years later, my dad found himself in the Army, running the weather office for 2RCHA in CFB Petawawa in Ontario. Please forgive the photo quality. My sister took this picture with her Brownie Star flash. These pictures were taken in Montreal in 1988. They were in black and white because I had learned black and white photography in college and had taught my dad. At the time, we had a complete darkroom at home. On the left, he is rolling cigarettes. On the right, he is working on a puzzle. In every house we lived in, Dad had a workshop, and that was his happy place. This one is in St. Hubert, Quebec, on Montreal's south shore. My older sister was married in 1989, and my dad took the occasion of her wedding reception to pose with his mother and older sister, Jeanette. After Dad retired, he and my mother moved to London, a city I had already moved to, and where members of my mom's family lived. In this picture, he is playing with my two nieces and my oldest daughter, who is now 18. My father and I were among the founding members of the London Engineers, a model railroad club here in London. All of the benchwork, that is the structure of the model train layout you see in the middle of this picture, was built by him and could be folded up and transported in 3 to 4 vehicles. My dad built a substantial play structure in his backyard for his grandchildren to play on. Here, the proud grandfather watches one of my kids playing. In the year 2000, I was hired by someone to build a 16 by 36 foot N-scale model railroad in a garage. I brought my father into the project and we got to spend 8 months working together doing something we both enjoyed. Here you can see him posing among just a very small portion of that project. In October of 2015, my mom and dad celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. They were joined by my sister and I, and all of our children. Thank you for allowing me to share just some of the memories from my father's life.